Good morning, sixth graders. If you are at home today and tomorrow, I'm just going to go through what we will be doing for the next couple of days. So we're going to start a mini research project, and we're going to be researching how people use art and writing to express themselves. And we came upon this topic because obviously in the book Love That Dog, Jack learned to express himself through his poetry, even though he originally decided that he did not love poetry. And so I'm going to go through the slides, and then I will invite you to ask questions via Schoology if you have any questions. So we're going to explore not just poets, but authors, visual artists, activists, musicians, and journalists. And I want you to be asking yourself continuously throughout this research, why did they write? Why did they create art? So, for example, if they're a poet, what motivated them to write? Or if they're a visual artist or they're a musician, why did they create art? Because music is art. And then what motivated them? So everyone's motivation is a little bit different, but there's usually a source that motivates them to design and create. What did they get out of the actual process of creating and designing, and what were they expressing? So what you're going to do is choose 2 to 3 of the people in the following slides to help you explain in a paragraph how and why people use writing and art to express themselves, cope and deal with obstacles in life, and learn who they are. So your first choice is going to be Jerry Craft. As a kid, Craft preferred Spider-Man comic books in the serious novels that won awards. With New Kids, he decided to create the kind of book he wanted to read as a boy. So remember how we talked about Walter Dean Myers wrote his books because there were no books about young African-American boys that experienced what he experienced when he was growing up. So very similar to that, Jerry Craft did the same. But he wanted his work to be funny, like the Wimpy Kid series, but he wanted to explore serious stuff too, including stereotypes related to race and family home. So he's choice number 1. Rhea Telgemeier, so she's the one that did the series, the Gut series, and she said, I would go home every day after school, after work, after everything, and I would need to write it down, and I would need to draw pictures and illustrate it. So she really has done a great job with graphic novels and hitting these serious topics in a funny way, similar to the Wimpy Kid series. Faith Ringgold, you might have learned about her in elementary. So quilts became a stealthy means of getting her own story out there. I've always wanted to tell my stories, or more to the point, my side of the story. Ringgold writes in the preface of her memoir, We Flew Over the Bridge, which was published in 1995. She was the one that started to talk about how her quilts each represented something in her life, and she used her quilts as an art form. Her story, Tar Beach, was a story about her story quilt, and it was a children's book. If you're interested in doing her, this is a great video to watch about her reading that children's book, Tar Beach. N.K. Jemisin, so she was, or she is, shifting between Alabama and New York, where she spent summers with her father. She adjusted to the jarring differences across the Mason-Dixon line, both social and personal, living in one home shaped by an artist and another by a standardized test giver. Science fiction appealed to her at a young age. Little about her real life was cohesive, but imagined worlds coming to complete, self-contained, and bound by logic. I saw Star Wars when it came out because I was a creepy, obsessed space kid, she told me. Later, she mined her local libraries for sci-fi novels. So she is the only author to win the Hugo Award for literary science fiction or fantasy 3 years in a row. Mala Yousafzai, she was the girl that actually got shot in the face by the Taliban, and she is now a social activist for girls in the Taliban rule. So she's really amazing. Nellie Bly. One day, an upset Bly decided to pen an open letter to the editor of the Pittsburgh Dispatch. Her short but important piece pointed out the paper's negative representation of women. So Nellie Bly really developed the practice of what we now call investigative journalism, and you can look there at that article that is from the National Women's History Museum. Kwame Dawes, he's a poet and novelist. I'm trying to capture in language the things that I see and feel as a way of recording their beauty and power and terror so that I can return to those things and relive them. And that way, I will try to have some sense of control in a chaotic world. Pete Docter, director of Pixar Studios. I make art primarily because I enjoy the process. It's fun making things. He's super creative and a really interesting guy. So if you're interested in what Pixar does, he would be a good person to choose. Anne Frank kept a diary during World War II and the Holocaust, and her book is now one of the most read and important, inspiring books in the world. So if you're interested in history and the Holocaust, Anne Frank is another great choice. Denver-based artist, author Thomas Detour Evans. Had you always considered art to be a form of activism, or have recent events inspired you to use your artistry to call attention to important issues? So he said, I'd say that art is always a form of activism because artists try to, as much as they can, embed the truth about current times and what they're exploring. So his art is really relevant, and the fact that he's from Denver is also really cool. Frida Kahlo, one of Mexico's greatest artists. When Frida was 18, she was injured so badly in a bus accident that she had to stay in the Red Cross Hospital in Mexico City for several weeks. After that, she returned home for further recovery. She had to wear full body casts for 3 months. To kill the time and alleviate the pain, she started painting and finished her first self-portrait. The following year, Frida Kahlo once said, I paint myself because I am often alone and I am the subject I know best. Her work is actually coming to the Denver Art Museum in actually 2 weeks. Louis York, right there. So he started writing at church when he was 9 years old. He was trying to find a way to express himself. I found it in poetry first, and that turned into songwriting once I fell in love with music. Bob Dylan, singer, songwriter, Pulitzer Prize winner. He made a huge contribution to voicing the civil rights movement. So now what I want to show you is the note catcher. So this is what you're going to be filling out for the next 2 days. So I want you to think about, sorry, I didn't mean to click that. Choose 2 to 3 people in the slideshow to help you explain in a paragraph how and why people use writing and art to express themselves, cope and deal with obstacles in life, and learn who they are. So you're going to pick 2 to 3, and you're going to put the name of the artist and the author right here, okay? And then you're going to briefly describe the writing and or art this person created. And in some of these cases, it's more than one. So they have like songwriting, poetry, they have more than one art form. And then here's the important part is the evidence from the text or a direct quote. And you can color code this. So what we did is we said, in yellow, you're going to put to express themselves, in blue, to cope and deal with obstacles in life, and then in green, to explore and discover and learn who they are. So you're going to do this 3 times. So as you're looking through here, oops, I need to get this out. You're going to scroll down to see that we've done it 3 different times. By color coding it, it's really going to help you when you turn all of this into a race response. So that is the success criteria, and that's the end goal. But for the first 2 days, you're simply just researching, and feel free to research on your own if there's not enough evidence in the slideshow that we have given you. So you pick 2 to 3 people, and the most important thing is that you're able to describe how this person expressed themselves, coped with obstacles, and learned who they were through whatever art form they had. So if you have any questions, just send me a message on either Schoology, or you can send me a message, just email me. But know that your end result here is going to be working this into a race response. And remember that you need to be on the Zoom call on Wednesday because we're going to finish with our race review. All right, have a great start of the week, and I hope that everybody is doing good, staying safe, and being healthy. For now, I am going to end. Have a great day.